part in its turn, split it into two compartments. Look, buccal and parieto masseter. And border between them is anterior margin of masseter muscle. Now look to my face attentively. I will firmly close my mouth, and you will see movement of my masseter muscle, and you will see its anterior margin. Look. I can palpate it now, anterior margin of my masseter. Approximately it will be here, and it will divide my buccal region from my parieto masseteric region. That is division of head region. Today we will start to study the fornix of the head. And remember, please, fornix of the head divided into two regions. This is necessary to be right. Right, please. Fornix of head divided into two regions. First one, the biggest one, we call fronto parieto occipital region. Fronto parieto occipital region. In the Latin we say radio fronto parieto occipitalis. In the brackets right, please, it is single region, not double. Fronto parieto occipital region. It is single region. Second region we call temporal region, radio temporalis. It is double region. It is double region. That's all. Now look to me. Let's say our fornix has just only two regions. One is single, second is double. Single region, which I show now for you, which is located in the level of your one frontal, two parietal, and one occipital bone, we call fronto parieto occipital region. Let's say you understand that it's located in the level of these bones. By the way, from these bones, frontal and occipital, it is single bones, parietal bone, it is double bone. Let's say this is my fronto parieto occipital region. It is single, you see, doesn't divide it into right and left. Second, my region, it is temporal region, approximately on the level of the squama of the temporal bone. You know, temporal bone has several parts. Four parts we have it. The squamous, pyramidal part, the tympanic part, and mastoid process. Let's say here we have the squama, the thinnest part of the temporal bone. Let's say in right and in left region, I have right and left temporal regions. Let's say once again, fornix contains one single fronto parieto occipital region and one double temporal region. Right, the topic of my today's lecture, fronto parieto occipital region. Let's say you can see, friends, that from big regions we come to smaller and smaller subdivisions. Firstly, we divided head into big cerebral and facial parts. Then big cerebral part we divided into fornix and base. Now fornix I divided into fronto parieto occipital and two temporal. This is final regions which we will study together in cycle of topographical anatomy. Same I will do with base, same I will do with face, as I will divide it into final regions and will study each final region separately. Now, you can ask me the question, for example, but sir, why it's necessary to divide, for example, this fornix into several regions and only after study it? Why not to study it at once? Just one whole fornix. Answer of this question is very simple. Because in different part of the fornix, I will see different quality of the layers. And if the layers will be different to each other, how I will describe stratigraphy, for example, it will be impossible. So I must divide it so much to have inside of each region the same quality of the layers, to describe them by the methods of my subject. Idea is understandable for you. It's very simple, guys. Try to understand. Let's say borders of fronto parieto occipital region. Don't write, listen to me. Everything is written. Now look to me. I start again from midpoint of my glabella, which is nasia. Then my border continues by my supraorbital margins. After it is continuous by superior temporal line. Superior temporal line, it is located in parietal, in frontal bones. It's called superior temporal, but it doesn't locate it in temporal bones. As you remember from your anatomy, it is place of attachment of proper fascia in temporal region. Below superior temporal line, we have inferior temporal line, place of attachment of temporal muscle. Temporal muscle, it is one of your masticatory muscles by which you make the chewing. Let's say again, supraorbital margin, superior temporal line, superior nuchal line, external occipital protuberance. By blue interrupted line, all these borders you can see here, supraorbital margin, superior temporal line, superior nuchal line, external occipital protuberance. Let's say that is my region, which is between these mentioned lines. This is like helmet. It is covered all your fornix of the head. And it is resembled to three bones, which I mentioned. Frontal, two parietals, and one occipital. This is the borders. Any regions you will start to describe from borders. Again, you can ask me, but sir, why it is necessary to remember this boring information? Everything is simple. If I don't know the borders of the region, I cannot understand how, for example, and how much pathological processes can be spread inside of it. Because in one region they will have one specificity, in another region they will have absolutely another specificity. Finally, you study topographical anatomy to make operations and to make some practical skills. Let's say this is not just studying for studying. This is studying to have basement knowledge for the practical work. So if I don't know the borders of region, how I can imagine, for example, passage of the pus inside of it, how much it will be passed if I don't know the borders. Idea is understandable for you. Let's continue. Now I start to speak about borders, I finish to describe borders, and now we must come to method number 1 of my subject, which is called stratigraphy. I should describe the layers of our region, layer by layer, with all characteristics. In the same time, after it, we will speak about holotopy, about syntopy, about skeletotopy. That's all methods of topographical anatomy we will use. Let's start from the layers. Now, what do you see in these pictures? This is frontal section. Frontal section. Frontal section we made from bregma, midpoint of your head. Let's say frontally we cut in our frontoparieto region, anterior part we removed, and you look to the back side. And you can see layers of frontoparieto region. That first layer which you see here is skin, and it's covered by the hairs, as you can see in this picture. By the way, if I will start to speak about hairs, of course it's necessary to mention that in forehead we don't have hairs. In all other parts of frontoparieto occipital region, we have hair cover. Why we need to know about this hair cover? How students usually answer? They give the stupid answer like, if there are hairs, I must to take the shaver and shave the hairs before. For that, it's not necessary 6 years to study in medical university. Any stranger from the street can take the shaver and shave the hairs. That is not the reason why we speak about hairs. For hairs is necessary to speak because any hair has its hair follicle which can be inflamed. And the inflammation of hair follicle, it is surgically treated problem. That's why you should know normally, naturally, region content hairs or not, because today you can see persons without any hairs at all. Is it understandable for you? That's why right to remember. Inflammation of one hair follicle we call furuncle. Furuncle. Inflammation of several hair follicles. Furuncle. F. Furuncle. Inflammation of several hair follicles together with surrounding fatty tissue we call carbuncles. Let's say furuncle. it is inflammation of one hair follicle. Carbuncles, it is inflammation of several hair follicles with surrounding fatty tissue. Now let's make conclusion. Let's say we understand that our region, except forehead portion, covered with hairs. That's how we can see formation of furuncles and formation of carbuncles in this region. What else we must say about skin? If we start to speak about hairs, now let's speak about glands. Skin in fronto parieto occipital region contains huge amount of sweat and sebaceous glands. By the way, sebaceous glands mainly accumulated in anterior portion which doesn't have the hairs. If you will tense now your skin in this region, you can see that it stands fatty. That's why here we have huge amount of the sebaceous glands. Sweat glands approximately equally located in whole region, a little bit more accumulation in the occipital part, but whole region contains that. You can say me why we need to speak about these structures. Remember or write inflammation of one sweat gland we call hydroadenitis. Hydro, it is liquid. Adenitis, it is inflammation. Hydroadenitis. Inflammation of sebaceous gland we call atheroma. Atheroma. Again, this is two problems which is treated surgically. That's why you must know about content of the sweat and sebaceous glands. What else I must say about skin? I must mention its elasticity. I must mention its movement. Now write and remember, please, skin is in this region critically very thick. Skin is not elastic. And skin is not movable. Skin is critically thick, it is not elastic, and it is not movable. But guys, 1 minute, look to me please. If you will compare the skin in forehead with the skin in backside, you will see that comparable to both skins is unmovable, not elastic. But anteriorly it will be a little bit thinner, little bit more elastic, and little bit more movable. Comparable with backside. 1 minute, look to me. How I can prove it? I can try to make skin fold here and in the back. And I will check, of course, that anteriorly skin fold forms much more easier than in the back region. It means we have more elastic, movable, and thinner skin. Why it is so? You will see a little after. That's why, guys, generally in science, there are two types of questions, not only in medicine, in science. Who knows these two types of questions? Just two. How? Huh? In whole science, doesn't matter which branch of science is it. Your brain is the dystrophy situation.
Why and where?
Once again?
Why and where?
No. Why and where? No. How and why, of course. Why and how. How it means, what the structural specificities, what the form, what the type, what the shape. And from point of the view of philosophy, question why is much more important than question how. Because just if you understand how is it and don't understand the reason of it and mechanism of formation of it, it's not so much valuable. Let's say now we speak about question how. Little after you will find the answer on the question why. That's how I tell you, how it's developed. It is thick, it is non-elastic, it is not movable. But little after you will see why it is thick, why it is non-elastic, and why it is non-movable. Let's continue. That is all characteristics of the skin. Don't write, listen to me. Layer number 2, subcutaneous fatty tissue. Now look in this picture, please. Under the skin, you can see good developed fat, which is located just under of the skin. And if you will look in whole this picture, you will see that this layer, it is the best developed layer of all soft tissues. From here, bone is starting. So if you will compare this size with the size of all soft tissues, you can see that it is 2/3 of all soft tissues of this region. That's why we can come to conclusion that subcutaneous fatty tissue, it is best developed soft tissue layer in fronto-parietal occipital region. Now let's speak about its structural specificities. What do you see inside of the picture? You see that inside of this fat, we have very many septas, connective tissue septas, which is divided fat into the pockets or into the cells. Such kind of structure of fatty tissue we call occipital or cellular. Remember these terms, please. In our future lessons, in many regions, you will see occipital or cellular type of the fatty tissue. But sometimes you will see another type of fatty tissue, which is visible also in this picture, like this fat. Fat is which is located under of the subcutaneous fatty tissue. Don't write anything. This fat we will study little after. It is called subaponeurotical fat because it's located under aponeurosis, and you don't see any septa inside of it. Fat without septas we call layering fat tissue. That's why now, guys, you understand two types of the fatty tissues which we will see inside of different regions. Or it will be occipital or it will be layered. You can ask me now, but sir, why you speak about it? We don't study histology or something else. That is practical subject. Really, guys, any word, any sentence which I give you has huge practical meaning. And what is the practical meaning of this question? Inside of connective tissue spaces, we can have pathological processes. Liquids, pus, blood, anything else. If it is located inside of occipital fatty tissue, it cannot be spreaded because the septas will border it, and you will have formation of the lamps. I think in your childhood, many times you traumatized your region, and what is happened? Horn, lamp. Why? Because this hematoma cannot be spread to the sides. It is in fatty tissue. But if hematoma will be originated not in the fat, but for example in subaponeurotical loose connective, it can be spread up to the borders of this fatty tissue. That's it, because second fatty tissue, as you see in the picture, doesn't have any pockets. This is practical meaning why we speak about structural specificity of the fatty tissue. That's why remember, please. Now it is second information, which I give you from fatty tissue. First, I say it's great developed, and second, I say you that it contains septas, which is divided this fatty tissue into the pockets. Now look in these septas, please. You can see that they originated from this layer. This is third layer in our region. Look, skin, fat, and something under the fat. It has brown color here. What is it? Little after I will tell you the name. It is Galea aponeurotica. Otherwise, we call it aponeurosis epicranialis. What is the aponeurosis epicranialis? By your face, I see that first time in your life you listen about this structure, and now I must to be confused because 3 semesters you studied systemic anatomy, and you must to know all our impressional muscles. Muscles which show emotions in our face. And one from these impressional muscles we call fronto-occipital muscle. It makes the wrinkles in your forehead region. It has 2 bellies. One is located in frontal part, second located in your occipital. And these 2 bellies connected to each other by aponeurosis, which is called aponeurosis epicranialis or Galea aponeurotica. Exactly this aponeurosis, as you can see in the picture, give the septas which is passed through the fat, and finally